What's going on, y'all? Fabian Speaks, man. We're back with a reaction video. We're doing a reaction to Nick Jones's I worked at a cemetery and buried hundreds of people, but I'll never forget this. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know y'all's thoughts in the comment section down below. Let's get it.
All right, y'all. So Luke said he worked at a cemetery, that he's buried hundreds of people, but this specific time is the moment that stuck with him the most. Let's listen.
Okay, so I worked at a cemetery and I buried hundreds of people. And a lot stand out, but the one in particular, so one thing about Jewish culture, at least where I was working, is they want their people buried within 24 hours of them passing away. So when we get one of those calls, we know we got to dig quick and they'll be there soon. So if someone passes away at 12, if they can get the reservation in before 5, usually the person will be in the ground. So it's a quick turnaround. And as we were burying this one person, we were lowering the casket into the vault, because everything goes into a vault, and then we close the vault and then cover it up. And after we did it, this lady just stood by there screaming. And we see it all the time, but this was different, what she was saying. She was yelling out, "He was fine." She was yelling out, "He was fine. We were eating dinner yesterday. He was fine. He was fine." You know, and we wait normally till everyone leaves before we cover the vault up. But she wouldn't leave. And just hearing the screams, you know, from where we were sitting, being respectful, giving our distance, you know, "He was fine. He was eating dinner yesterday. He was fine." And I say that because some of you are taking for granted moments with people. And if you knew that it was a possibility that tomorrow they wouldn't even be around for dinner, even if you're not eating dinner with them, but nothing, I think you would live a little bit different. Because it doesn't come at the end of our life, we retire. This is a picture that's painted. We can envision it, you know, being old and falling. It's not like that. And maybe it's time to take it a little more seriously, the time you have with the people who matter. Maybe it's a phone call. Maybe it's ordering them a little gift, taking them out to dinner. These are things that will sit in your memory museum when they're not here anymore. I've been getting a lot of messages since I started posting about, you know, people not being in your life anymore. Didn't realize that so many people deal with it. I think working at a cemetery, I only dealt with it there.
I was going to say the gravity of working at a cemetery is just death becomes a natural part of your day to day of, you know, the work, so to speak. And not, it's one thing just to say death, but there's so many facets to the element of death, right? Like he was illustrating a woman, possibly the deceased mother, talking about they were just having dinner together. It's just the capacity in which it affects other people. There's a domino effect, essentially, like the effect it will have on the people who are involved in your life, you know. So they get to see that right in real time. They see there's funeral services, burial services, and one can imagine that those moments just hold a very sad, sorrowful energy, right? Like the space that fills a room tends to be based off feeling or emotion or what's felt amongst the community. Parties, fun, rambunctious, tend to be lighthearted. There's a certain energy that's cultivated in a space like that, right? But at a funeral or a burial service, a lot of crying, weeping, tears, people, you know, hanging their head. Like, so on the spectrum, that's kind of like the complete opposite end.
Don't take it for granted.
Simple message, whole lot of truth. I don't know if I would be able to function if my wife or one of my children passed away. I'd like to think that I would be able to, but I don't know if I would actually be able to function if that were to happen. I'd like to think that I would lean on God in those moments. I'd like to think that I would rely on my faith and my relationship with him in those moments, but I don't know what I would do. And this is just me being completely candid and completely honest with you guys. I have no idea. I know that ultimately the Bible says that he will wipe away every tear. I know that ultimately the Bible says that he will make all things new. I'm aware of those promises. I just don't know in my flesh how I would respond in those moments.
And that's what's crazy, is that it's an honest take to say, to be that self-aware and understand you'll have fleshly moments. We have feelings, we have emotions, we're able to hold on to the Lord's promises, and but I believe from a very transparent perspective, like he's mentioned, in a fleshly perspective, you can realize that you'll have your moments. You know what I mean? You'll have your moments on how you tend to turn, what you tend to turn to deal with things, how you tend to respond or take things in. So, and the Lord understands that. God understands that. But what you're holding on to is the promises, right? Even though people always want to paint a picture or mention or kind of illustrate on what someone's response should look like to certain things. But I'm even talking about in the breadth of, what does it look like to hold on to God's promises? Does that mean that you're perfect? Does that mean that you're smiling every single day or you never crack a tear? I believe the complete opposite. I believe that you're able to be vulnerable in that space, express yourself, because you know that the Lord understands what you're facing and going through, right? Perfection doesn't dictate or paint a clear picture of anything at all, because we know that people hold a lot of things internally. So it's an honest take.
And I just made a video on my my third channel, and I'll link it down below in the description. But I was talking about how I think about, this wasn't the whole conversation, but this was a small aspect of the conversation that I was having. And I was saying that I think about death a lot. I think about my own mortality a lot. And I also think about everything that I didn't do, in terms of, I'm always thinking that there's more that I could be doing, that I could be more productive. So those two combinations, or that combination of thought, create within me a lot of anxiety, both ways. And here's what I mean. I feel as if there's so much that I could be doing on mission, on purpose, achieving things. And these aren't even necessarily things of this world, so to say, but there's a lot of things that I feel as if God is calling me to do. And in the process of me doing those things, it takes a lot of time. And this is time that I could be spending with my family. On the flip side, when I am spending time with my family, I'm thinking about the things that I could be doing on the flip side. And it's a wrestle that I haven't necessarily been able to reconcile within myself. It's something, I'm still working it out. I'm still trying to figure out how to balance that. But one thing I do know for sure is that most of the things that I'm concerned about, that we are concerned about, are simply earthly in nature. Most of the things are simply earthly in nature. And it's a byproduct of us being in this flesh. And ultimately, those.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. That's just the nature of. I think I'm not gonna say everybody, but I think certain people deal with this struggle that Nick was just detailing. You know, like when you're spending time with your loved ones, you feel like you could be progressing more, being more on purpose, on mission. Whether it's kingdom mission or like you have your talents, your hobbies, one things that you want, or a business that you want to curate, right? Obviously seek first the kingdom of God and all else will be added. I try to apply that to my life holistically, but you know, some go-getters are go-getters, right? People that want to or have a lot of ambition and are purpose-driven tend to want to do that a majority of the time. So even at the times to where you can relax, take a break, spend time with family, enjoy time, your mind can veer off and go elsewhere at times. We try our best not to, but vice versa. When you're working and when you're in it, in the thick of it, you keep hustling, grinding, and not even that, just being on your your purpose, being driven, being focused, having a lot of momentum in the work you're doing. You tend to start thinking about how, man, you miss family and you should be spending more, investing more time with them. So uh, I feel like a lot of people deal with this, man. I don't think it's just a rarity. And even as he's mentioning death and talking about death, I think that us as spiritual beings, us as understanding where we honestly truly belong, um, we just tend to naturally have desires that are otherworldly, outside of the flesh, outside of the world. So I think that there's a select people who aren't of the world are like that. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who think about or ponder death, but we don't fear death, right? So that's a security, that's a understanding, a truth that we live in day to day. So I think that maybe that's why a lot of us can contemplate death so much, because sometimes death for people is a picky subject, a subject they don't want to talk about. They may feel like it's off base, it's off topic. They don't want to get into the nitty gritty of that because at the root of it, they're afraid. But I mean, I think certain people who understand where they're going aren't afraid to speak on it and wonder about, returning home. So that's just my take on it. We're going to end the video there. Comment down below. Let me know y'all's thoughts. But shout out Nick Jones. Peace, love, prosperity. God bless y'all, man. Jesus is the way, the truth, and life. We'll see you on the next video.